So I wanted to talk about something a little bit different than what most people are talking about right now, and it's probably going to be a little bit of a short topic, a little bit of a shorter video. But the one thing I wanted to talk about is who is the hardest matchup at 155 for Ilia Topuria? Because a lot of people are saying, oh, it's Arman Saryukin, or it would have been Islam Makhachev if Islam never moved up. And I do agree that Islam would have been the hardest matchup for him if he was still at 155. But I do think that the one matchup that actually is the hardest for Islam, or my bad, for Ilia Topuria right now at 155 is not who you think it is. And this might sound like an unpopular opinion, but I actually think the hardest matchup for Ilia Topuria at 155 is the guy he already fought. And I think it's Max Holloway. Now, hear me out for a second. All right. When I look at Max at 155, now that he's gotten bigger, that he's bulked up, and he looks very good, even though he did got dropped in his last fight, I do think his chin has already been suspect. To be fair, I think it began to crack around the Gaethje fight. Like, yeah, he's took some hard shots, and Gaethje is known to hit hard. Sorry about that. A little squeaky bar. Anyways, Gaethje is known to hit hard, and he did hit like crack Holloway, and it was like a flash knockdown. Actually, not a flash knockdown, I think. I think flash knockdown is when you get knocked down, but you get right back up. It might have been. Anyways, I think Holloway, his chin is a little bit cracked. He can still take a bunch of punches. He took a lot against Topuria before he knocked him out with that left hand. But I do think that now that he's bigger, he's pretty much the same speed. Actually, he's faster than a lot of these 155ers, which is crazy to think. I wouldn't be surprised if Holloway is like walking around 185 pounds too, by the way. I know Holloway has always been a big featherweight, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's still considered a big lightweight. Like, it doesn't look like it because his shoulders are kind of narrow. His legs aren't really that big. But he's got like that Hawaiian body type, that Samoan body type. And I'm not really sure what the specific name for his, like, Islander body type, whatever it is. And I actually went to Hawaii. Those guys are large, man. And it doesn't look like it. But even someone like Holloway is like, he's considered a smaller guy for those type of guys. Like those Hawaiians, he's considered actually a smaller guy. And he doesn't look like it, but his bones density is probably like crazy. And that's one of the reasons why Holloway is also like so big, like around the, off camp. It doesn't look like it, but he's walking around like 185 pounds most likely. And I do think that with this new speed, or not this new speed, this new strength, his chin is probably better now. And not only that, one of the things that we can talk about Max Holloway is he can just do these combinations better, man. He's not as drained. He feels more relaxed, more refreshed. He's still strong. I mean, I remember hearing something about Max saying, like, I feel stronger at 155, This is like the right weight class for me. Ironically enough, I don't think it's Arman Saryukin who's the hardest match for Ilia Topuria. And I know a lot of people are going to get on my case like, oh, Arman actually has the grappling to maybe like make competitive with Topuria. Yeah, here's the thing though. I don't think Arman's wrestling is good enough to control Topuria, and I don't think Arman can actually submit him. Is it possible? Well, yeah, definitely. Anything can happen in MMA, but I do think Arman actually being likely to submit Topuria is a lot harder than what people think it is. I mean, if you remember the thing with Charles Oliveira literally had him like in multiple submissions, and they were close. Maybe not like, oh, he's about to tap type of close, but Oliveira did had him in submission like twice. And I know that, Topuria used to submit a lot of guys. Granted, he was submitting guys that were like lower skill. Right now, he's been knocking people out. But he is really good in jiu-jitsu. I do think his grappling in general is very good. I think it's actually a little bit underrated, in my opinion. I know he did manage to get crucifix, my bad. Which is not an easy position to get against Charles and Oliveira, in my opinion, if you ask me. But I do think that Arman, if he tries to wrestle, Topuria is most likely going to be able to stop the takedowns, and I think he's going to be able to keep it on the feet. And I know Arman is like the same height, so some people are saying, oh, he can axe kick him. Well, that is a chance. Topuria does seem to have like a little bit of a tendency of getting kicked. Like, I know we only seen it once happening against, what's his face, Jai Herbert, which it was a bit of a knockdown, but Topuria recovered beautifully. And I love a lot of people make fun of Topuria for that, but I'm like, hey, he's still undefeated, so it's not even that big of a deal. It's not like he got knocked out by Adriano Martins, if you want to talk about someone like Islam. I don't know why people get Topuria flock for being like knocked down by a 6'3" lightweight, with high kicks. Like that guy was a really good striker, by the way. Jai Herbert is his striking is really good. I know he hasn't had the best record lately, but his striking is still really good. Anyways, I do think Topuria would keep it on the feet, and he would manage to find the knockout in around round 2, in my opinion. I think the hardest matchup for 155 is just Max. And I know a lot of people are going to give me shit for that, saying we already saw that fight. We know it doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying you need to do that fight right now, but I do think if Max Holloway beats Charles Oliveira for the BMF belt, which does seem like is like the most likely scenario. For all we know, we could be getting Max Holloway versus Paddy Pimblett or just... No, not the Gaethje rematch. Gaethje rematch makes no sense. I do think we're most likely going to get Oliveira versus Max. And I do think Max Holloway beats Oliveira, even though that performance against Gamrot that Oliveira had was very good. It looked like vintage Oliveira in there. I do think Max is able to do enough to win a match against Charles. And I do think if he does manage to do that, here's the thing too. I don't know what's going to happen to the lightweight division if Ilia Topuria wants to move up, because there's a chance that we could see, Topuria defend the title against once. I don't know who's going to be defending. Most likely he's going to be defending against Arman the first time, and then maybe he moves up to 170 to fight Islam. But if he actually manages to stay there, I do think his second title defense is most likely going to be Max Holloway. If Max Holloway beats Charles Oliveira, which is most likely going to happen, I think, against February or January. I don't know when exactly they want to do that fight, but we need to see that fight. BMF belt, Oliveira versus Max Holloway. Like, come on, man, take my fucking money. That's not a fight I'm going to miss. I will literally like... If here's the thing, my entire family can be in the hospital, and like I would still like just stay at home watching that fight, man. Okay, maybe not my entire family being in the hospital, but that's a fight you would not want to miss. All right, that's a fight that you would plan everything out so you don't miss it. I know that fight would be a banger, man. I know it's not going to be a disappointment. And keep in mind, it is a rematch too from originally like many years ago, so that just has like more steam to add to like the storyline. But anyways, to keep it short, the hardest guy at 155, in my opinion, is not Oliveira, or my bad, it's not Arman Tsarukyan. I think it's Max Holloway, a rematch at 155. Max, bigger, stronger. I'm not sure about faster. Maybe he could be a little bit faster. But, he's going to be more stronger. He's going to be bigger. He's going to be more durable. And I do think that's a harder match for Topuria than Arman, actually. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Right now, Arman is going to be fighting... what's-his-face, Dan Hooker, which I think it's almost a lock-in that he's going to win. I doubt Hooker is going to manage to pull off an upset win, which if he does, it would be pretty insane, but also kind of ruins the division a little bit. So I don't want to see that happen. But anyways, if that does happen, I do think Topuria's first title defense is going to be against Arman. And if he does not move up, it's going to be most likely against Max Holloway. And I do think it's going to be a very hard fight for Topuria. I do think he's still going to comfortably win. But I still think Max is going to give him a little bit of trouble. Because I remember Max actually winning a couple rounds off of Topuria, if I remember correctly. I think he won round 1 and maybe 2. I don't remember exactly, but I know there were competitive rounds. But anyways, that's it for this video, guys. If you guys like the video, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one.